Hiya. Howdy. Bloop, bloop. Meh. To all our beautiful listeners, animal and human alike, it's time once again for another episode of the Vegan Troubadour Show. So get out your forks, spoons, and chopsticks as we whip up some delicious conversational food, scrumptious intriguing interviews, and mouth-watering vegan musical numbers while we spend the next hour presenting you with a banquet of bountiful vegan ear, brain, and soul food that will leave you stuffed full of inspiration, happiness, and wisdom. Your podcast table is ready, so sit down, relax, and order everything on the plant-based, organic, cruelty-free menu as your hosts, waiters, and chefs, Jim Marconi, the vegan troubadour himself, and me, Mr. Bear Extraordinaire, take you up to the buffet of wonderful eating and healing right here on the Vegan Troubadour Show. Yay! All right, and we are back. Jim, boy, oh boy, it was a festive week back from the Veg Fest.
Yes, the Cleveland Veg Fest 2016. We were there.
Absolutely. How you doing, Jim? Have you recovered yet?
I'm recovered, and it was a really great success for the Cleveland Vegan Society.
Oh,
it was.
And
I think for really most of the, I'd say everybody who had a booth there. The food, everything went. They were hoping for 5,000, and last I heard there was maybe estimates between 7,000 and 8,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's incredible. I know that there was constant crowds every time I looked out there. There was people milling around everywhere. The lectures were full up. The cooking classes and the food booths and the merchandise booths. Everything was just out of sight. It was incredible.
Tons of people, and it was just, I don't know, the facility, the Cleveland Convention Center worked out absolutely beautiful.
It really did. You know, and I don't think I can remember a Veg Fest in the past few years that seemed as successful as this last one.
Yes.
It really just seemed like it was booming. Everything seems to be coming to a new age with this. I think people are finally waking up in Northeast Ohio.
It would seem like that. I was concerned when it started. You know, I got there, but even early on, there was a lot of people there, and they just kept pouring in. So there's a lot of vegetarians and vegans and people who are interested and
vegan curious.
You know, and I want to thank the musicians. Zach and Steve Moore and his wife, and Dolan Aspahia,
right? Oh yeah,
and Laura
Bronco,
yes.
Laura Bronco, and the Five Rhythms. That was amazing. I actually was sweating for the first time that day. It was a good workout with that. Absolutely great workouts. She's wonderful. And the Rock the House and Chaz. I mean,
the sound people. Yes, they were there.
Goodness gracious, he was spot on the whole time. Worked that board just perfectly.
Yeah, so I was very concerned about how the sound was going to be, but it worked out just beautiful.
It really did. And you can tell there was enough people there that they were actually getting it. They were looking, they were listening, they were eating. And, you could feel the vibe. You could feel that presence.
Yes, it was nice to have a bunch of like-minded people under one roof.
Absolutely.
When you're around
Absolutely.
thousands of people who think like you. You go through your life with, most every day you're around hardly anybody who thinks like you, and then to have a day where there's thousands and thousands of people who don't think you're a nut. Hey, I like that. I like that.
Exactly. And it's interesting where you find people milling around, and there wasn't the usual, let's just eat something and, forget about it, and just go mindless. These people were aware, awake, and, were interested in learning.
Yes, and there was a lot of booths, so there was a lot of stuff to learn.
So, we're looking at these things, and, it's interesting that we're eating good foods. We're understanding good health. We're understanding great nutrition. And yet, you always put people together, and usually when people socialize, what they like to do, they like to become inebriated as well.
Well, that seems to be. I have this theory about called pick your poison.
Right.
And
right.
it kind of goes like this. It's like our bodies are, totally designed to eliminate poisons.
Right.
And they need to be that way because, if you think about it, we're getting, inundated with poisons that we can't do anything about. I mean, we got the air you breathe and the chlorine in the water and the plastic smell that you breathe in, and the plastic doesn't hurt food, and you got all these things, and there's a lot of them that you really can't do anything about. So that's why I think when you think about it, like trying to limit that, we start talking about poisons that are in the food, the preservatives and the dyes. Well, that's low hanging fruit. Definitely.
Yeah,
you should limit it because, I say pick your poisons. Pick a poison or two, but don't pick them all. Because when you take that attitude, and I've heard this many times, everything's bad for you. It's all going to kill you. So what difference does it make? And it's like, but you should be more selective about what it is you're going to pick. And it seems to me that most people. Certainly, I grew up in on a whole Irish culture, and it certainly seems to me that the thing that most everyone picks, besides coffee, which everyone picks, but is alcohol.
The alcohol.
And the thing about alcohol is, as you get older, it gets harder and harder to handle that.
Yep.
But I used to drink, socially for many years.
As did I.
And, it's been probably 10 years. I haven't had a hangover in 10 years. It's because I haven't had a drink in 10 years. But it's really something that people should think about, and just don't think of everything as poison, but think of the things that you can get rid of, and that
you can
are
make
easy.
a choice. You can make a choice not to put this into your body. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Other things, it's much harder to filter it out. But when you've got the opportunity, hey, I don't have to have a beer. I don't have to have a drink.
Yeah, but Jimmy, it's not even that. It's like if that's what you want to do, well, then start thinking about poison as poison. And if this is the poison I'm going to choose, well, then I'm going to eliminate all the other stuff that doesn't give me a buzz or that's not important to me, and then go do that. But be conscious, I want to also point out that, so when you have alcohol poisoning, which, I wish I could say, I could count the hangovers I've had. Well, I can't count them because there's just too many of them. But what's going on when you do that is you've poisoned your body with alcohol, so your body is trying to flush it out. It's trying to detox.
Trying to release it.
It's trying to get rid of all this.
Puts it into your bloodstream. That's why you feel the headache.
Right. So what's happening is it's drawn the water out of you to flush it out, and it's leaving your head without enough, dehydrating you.
Yeah.
So you get this headache. Now, if you get up in the morning and if you have that headache, if you do the hair of the dog, which is if you start drinking again, that headache will go completely away because you are now not detoxifying your body. Now you're back to dealing with poison. And so what happens with people is they're toxifying themselves with all kinds of stuff all the time, every day. And when they finally get sick or they finally decide that, they're going to detox,
Right.
it makes it, they feel really horrible and they freak out and they go, oh no, I got to go back to,
re-alcoholing.
well, or whatever. But, you really need to, your body needs to detox and it needs to get rid of it. And the best way to do that is really just by drinking a lot of water.
Water.
I mean,
You're flushing your system out. And what a lot of people don't understand is they're feeling that because they're in a mini healing crisis. Alcohol is entering the blood system. It's trying to get flushed out. You're dehydrating, like you said, but it's a good sign that you feel like that. Ride the storm out, flush it out. You're going to feel better soon.
And on the other hand, people, even take alcohol out, even just their bodies are all toxified and they start doing something to detox, and then I feel so bad, and it's like, well, at some point, you're going to have to get that crap out of you,
right?
And this is what gets people. This is how people end up in a state of disease.
Yeah, because they continually want the high pleasure, but don't understand that the higher that over pleasurable state that they are entering into with this toxifying element, the worse it's going to be when they come off that.
Yes. So I thought, so for some reason the whole thought came into me now, and I was. And so I decided I wrote a little song about this. It's a silly
song. You wrote a song.
It's
That's
a silly
unusual,
song,
Jim.
And it's kind of funny. And if you remember the song "After the Lovin',"
I do.
After the lovin'. So I call this song "After the Drinking."
Oh,
so
boy.
anyways, it's I think it's a pretty cute little song, and I'm going to play it for you. Here we go. So I'm hungover now after the drinking from the beer that I drank yesterday. And every time I stand up, the room it begins to sway. It's so hard to explain just how bad I'm feeling with my head, how it's pounding so loud. And with the things that I said last night, I'm not feeling proud. Alcohol has me on a one-way trip to my bed, and it's given me a pain in my head. So hungover again after the drinking, thought by now I'd figured it out. But the pain in my head, it leaves me some room for doubt. And I know that my song isn't saying anything new, but after the drinking, I feel like I'm gonna puke. Hungover again after the drinking, thought by now I'd figured it out. But the pain in my head, it leaves me some room for doubt. And I know that my song isn't saying anything new, but after the drinking, I feel like I'm gonna. After the drinking, I feel like I'm gonna. After the drinking, I feel like I'm gonna puke.
All right. Well, it looks like I've done it again. I left the studio doors open and somebody wandered on in here. Looks like we have Dr. Evil in here. Dr. Evil, what have you been up to recently?
Well, Mr. Bear, I've been rethinking my quest for the world domination, after seeing how messed up everything is. I've kind of rearranged my priorities. I'm no longer obsessed with Austin Powers mojo. I've decided to work on my own mojo. I want to have more energy, I want to feel better, and I want to look better.
I see. So, what are you doing to meet those goals, Dr. Evil?
Well, Mini-Me and I have decided to go vegan.
Really? Wow. How did that come about?
Well, number two. You know number two?
I do.
Yes, well, number two, he brought the Vegan Troubadour show to my attention, and I started learning about how utterly devastating the business of raising animals for food is for health of human beings and the planet. I don't want to bother with ruling the world until we have a world worth ruling over, if you know what I mean. It seems there is enough evil in the world right now without me adding to it.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. Was it hard making the transition from evil carnivore to evil vegan?
Oh, no, not at all. It's what I would call, Mr. Bear, it's what I would call easy peasy, Now that I'm armed with all of the information I've learned from you, Mr. Bear, and the Vegan Troubadour himself, I no longer have any desire to eat dead animals, okay? In fact, I feel better, I have more energy, and, I've lost the weight, and I'm looking pretty good right now, And the same goes for Mini-Me.
So you and Mini-Me both vegan, all listening to the Vegan Troubadour show? Wow. But I got a question. What about your son, Scotty?
Oh, poor Scotty. There was a time when, he wasn't evil enough, and now, he's just not vegan enough, And, he's trying to get used to the new me and Mini-Me, but, it's a hard transition for poor little Scotty.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, then there's a question about you and Austin Powers.
Austin Powers. For most of my life, Austin Powers has been the mongoose to my snake, or the snake to my mongoose. I'm never quite sure which one is right. But the days of him being my nemesis are all over. In fact, Austin Powers has also become vegan.
What?
He, too, is a big fan of the Vegan Troubadour show. He says being vegan makes him more virile, if you know what I mean. You know Austin.
I think I do. So can we expect Dr. Evil's return to the world scene anytime in the future?
Well, Mr. Bear, I'll tell you, if I come back, it will only be to promote a whole food, plant-based diet for the world. Because I don't see the world being worth taking over in the condition it's in right now. I believe if everyone went vegan, we just might have a future for this planet. With healthier people and less aggression and less pollution and less suffering, maybe then my evil will be more appreciated. Until then, I will have to be content with being the most evil vegan on the planet.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. But, at least glad you're turning over a new leaf, Dr. Evil. And anyway, it sounds like you're heading in the right direction, baby.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bear. And Mini-Me says thank you, too. What is that? Yes, Mini-Me says thank you, too.
And thank you to the two of you for wandering on in. And we'll be right back to our show, I guess, in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. right, and we're back. Boy, oh boy. Dr. Evil and Mini-Me right here in our studio, Jim.
Unbelievable. And
I'm speechless. I know that's hard to believe for the bear, but wow.
Yeah. So, both him and Mini-Me, and then he, drops his bomb about, being a vegan, and what really amazed me is he listens to our show.
He listens.
He listens because it seems like, when you, for a long time for me, and I, like you and like me and like everyone, you get into this and you think, oh, wow, I'm going to save the world. You know, I want to tell everybody. And you start telling everybody, and everybody looks at you like you're out of your mind.
Are you kidding me? Give up bacon? What are you talking about?
Well, where do you get your protein and all that stuff?
I'll give a plug to a few of them. I mean, Michon Hall over there in L.A. now, and him doing his thing. He listened, and I got this a friend of a friend, Rachel Hopek. She's now listening, trying to convert her mom. Apart from that,
and Mr. Dr. Evil and
Mini-Me. Well, the Veg Fest, there seemed like a lot of great people there, and they were all listening. But
yes.
General public, friends, family, no way. Nobody's listening. And it really confounds me because it just seems so simple. It seems they're all complaining about disease. They're all complaining about their health. They're all trying to go to the doctor, and pharmaceuticals and drugs and medicines. And I look at them and say, I never go to a doctor. I don't take pharmaceuticals. And yet something happens to me. I know the natural cure. And I'm healthy and I have wellness because
right. And you think you're
diet.
laying this out, and you think people are going to go, oh, wow, that sounds really good. And then you find out that the percentage of people who listen to you is about the percentage of people that are vegans in the country, a couple of percent.
Yeah. And you really can't understand it because it seems like very simple logic. It's very straightforward. Have a plant-based diet. Make yourself as healthy and bright and clear as possible with this. Go onto a vegan trail. You don't have to get everything perfect every single day, but at least you're going to relieve yourself of all of the lower, darker energies, the emotions, with bringing yourself up to a more compassionate state of being. And it just seems so simple, and yet you hear the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I know. It's always amazed me that with the, physically, the benefits you get, that would carry the day. And yet, from talking to a lot of people who are vegan, that really doesn't carry the day. It's mostly the animal rights, which I think is, just as legitimate as anything. And I'm all for that. But it just seems like, my God, you're eating something that's going to leave you diseased, and yet you keep eating it,
and you keep feeling lousy, and you keep feeling rotten, and you can't figure out how to get out from under this rock.
And in the beginning, now of course I'm going back 40 years ago, and in the beginning it seemed like, okay, as I look back in retrospect, and I think, well, I was young, and they thought I was, kind of goofy, and maybe I was, and they thought I was a little crazy. Maybe I was, but I really got it, and I was healthy. But you're at that age, everybody's healthy. You know what I mean, to some degree. But now, so many years later, I am healthy, and it has worked, and yet I still get these blanks, the
blank stares.
Yeah, the glaze over the eyes, and the message they're sending out to you is, please shut up. Kind of thing.
Oh, I couldn't give up meat. Oh, give up my steak? Are you kidding? How could I do that? And yet, people, when faced with disease, when faced with major illness, they have to change their lifestyle to some degree. They have to do something different. But it seems like the food is the last thing they look at. I mean, 8,000 people came to the Veg Fest compared to the population of Northeast Ohio. A spit in a bucket.
Well, this is the thing I've always found just mind-blowing is that, people will say, well, to change my lifestyle, that's so drastic, that's so radical, and it's like
extreme.
So extreme.
Yeah, I love
so
that
let me
one.
see. Somebody going in and taking out a bunch of your intestines or your leg or whatever it is,
Right.
That's in doing chemo and radiation. That's not
extreme.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, exactly. But yet, this is such an easy choice. And you wonder, when is the point that people are going to start listening, are going to say, hey, we could hold another Veg Fest this week, next week, the week after, get a bunch of people, keep coming back and keep getting it. That's still only going to be a small percentage. When are they going to start waking up and listening? And
I don't know. I've told you the story about my uncle, and they wanted to take his leg off, and to him, once he heard that, changing what he ate seemed to be like
easy
peasy.
Right.
He was like,
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, taking my leg off, that's pretty radical. But changing what I eat. He was like, let's do it.
And the big thing about the food is, I like the taste of this or the taste of that. Well, when you think about it, the taste is seasoning. The taste is the curing. The taste is the flavorings that are put into the food that you're eating. I can get the exact same tastes with a plant-based raw material as anybody else. I can have a coconut bacon.
Right, but here's the thing about the taste, and I was just talking the other night. Somebody brought this up, the same point. But here's what I say: when you are eating the flesh of an animal, this is this and the dairy, the secretions, and all that.
Right.
This is the flesh of an animal. This is as rich of a food as you can put into your body. It is so rich that it actually subverts your taste buds. I mean, it is like your taste buds are on complete overload.
Yep.
And so, so then everything else starts tasting bland because you're eating these, animals.
Right.
You're eating this flesh. And once you stop doing that and your taste buds go back to being normal, now all these flavors that you're like, like a bell pepper or, a tomato or almost anything, all of a sudden you weren't tasting it and you're going, oh, wow, and then the spices and the, all the condiments and everything has such a more intense flavor. This is what you're missing, So people do get their taste buds kind of whacked out.
Right.
And then this is what they I like the way it tastes. Well, you will like the way everything tastes once you get off of this.
Exactly. And then let's not forget, a lot of these foods are engineered. A lot of the processed foods are engineered to hit the certain parts of your brain to make you crave. I mean, that's where the fast food comes in.
Right. If anybody's seen Super Size Me,
Yeah.
he really gets into that, where, and I know there's a percentage of fat and salt and sugar.
Yep.
And they got it down literally to a science. It is a science.
Yeah.
And
That's what
that
the
guy who
MSG
did that
is.
Super Size Me, I mean, he was like, after like a couple days, he was like, I crave this. I gotta have this.
Right. It's like an addiction. It's like a drug. It is a drug, and that's what the MSG is. That's what all the flavoring enhancers is. They are basically, there to addict your brain into craving this food, which is no good for you.
Right. Somebody pointed out something the other night. They said, well, the reason that that Don Mossman, I'll give Don a plug. He said the reason that the dairy has this, it's like a drug, is because it is in there so that the calf will crave and be addicted and want more and more of this milk, because they're trying to turn this calf into this 600-pound cow in so many weeks, and so this is what gets the cow to keep coming back and get the calf to keep coming back and getting more, and to have human beings drinking this is like really pretty gross.
Exactly.
I mean, really, it's like it's not meant for people. It's not. I mean,
unless they want to become a 600, 700, 800-pound cow.
And when we have seen some of that.
Right. Exactly. The point of all this is, we're speaking the logic, we're speaking the truth, we're speaking plain, real, actual scientific stuff that you can study and learn, and yet, who's listening, Jim?
Nobody.
Nobody's listening.
It seems like. So I started our first show. The first song I played was this song that I'm going to play for you, and it is called "Nobody Listens to Me."
And it's about time they should. Let's hear it.
I learned about good health and I tried to spread the word to everyone I loved, but it seems nobody heard the message I was sending, or they thought it all absurd. Nobody listened to me. I talked about the food in the hopes that they would see that what they chose to eat should be done more consciously. When that didn't work, I just had to let it be. Nobody listened to me. At first I thought that everyone would want to hear this information that I knew was true. But up against the paranoia and the fear, my success was not with many, but with few. I've wrote a lot of songs that so far no one has heard, in this vain attempt of mine to try and spread the word. The plain and simple truth is everyone thinks I'm absurd. Nobody listens to me.
Well, all right. We are back. And as you heard, we just got done hearing "Nobody Listens to Me." And the reason I played that is because I have a very special guest with me today, Layne Connelly. And I kind of wrote that song tongue-in-cheek because actually some people were listening to me, and Layne was one of them. So, Layne, how you doing?
Hi, Jim. Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Why don't you tell everybody when you started listening to me?
Oh, I'd say it must have been at least 12 years ago now, when you and my dad met on the ski slopes in Steamboat, Colorado, and realized we were both from Cleveland, and hit off on a friendship. So I think probably way back then is when we started hearing about your vegan lifestyle and how passionate you were about it.
So that goes back pretty far.
Yeah, that it sure does. I was pretty young back then.
Yeah, how old are you now?
I'm gonna be 23 tomorrow. Actually.
23 tomorrow. Happy birthday to you. So,
thank you.
So we're talking. You were like 11 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing. Well, it shows, Layne, that you're a pretty smart cookie because. And for everybody who's listening, and this might embarrass Layne, but she is really quite intelligent. And she would sit there and I would go on and on about all these things, and she would soak it up like a sponge, and it kind of blew my mind. So tell me, besides me, what were the driving factors for you becoming vegan?
Well, I'd say my parents were always pretty health conscious. We never. Well, my mom was always kind of educating or knew somewhat in that field just to be healthy and whatnot. But I think when really, I actually asked her today to remind myself what kind of our thinking was back then. But we did become aware of just some of the animal rights issues behind just the meat industry. And really, my mom reminded us that she was conscious of having high cholesterol. And so I think you recommended the book, The China Study, just to educate ourselves a little bit more when we were thinking about this, becoming vegetarian at least. And so I know my mom read some of that, and just really the research behind it was pretty influential. And my sister and I were on board with just slowly phasing out meat. And so that those were really some of the major driving factors, I'd say.
Yeah. So, how was it being, vegan and vegetarian received by your peers in high school?
Well, in high school, I think, they asked questions. I'd say in high school, at least, it wasn't as, college kind of you can do your own thing and everyone's kind of cool with that or whatnot. But I'd say in high school, my peers definitely asked questions, and they were kind of, like, why don't you eat meat or whatever? But I'd say, like, they were pretty satisfied with simple answers as well. So when I realized just how kind of easy it was to just explain a few reasons why, people would be accepting and be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, how nice. And so what motivated you to explore the culture of veganism, kind of expanding your horizons in the area?
Yeah, I'd really say getting into cooking. I really got into cooking in high school. And when I started realizing, like, this whole realm of, like, all these new foods and recipes, and really, using the internet, which is such an awesome resource, just with vegan blogs and just all kinds of recipes and resources that are out there. I'd say cooking is really one of the big things that, like, kind of increased my passion for it and drive to kind of, expand and discover new recipes and new ingredients, and also just reading. I've and watching, certain documentaries. But I think also two of the books that have been pretty influential are T. Colin Campbell's Whole and the China Study. So those have been motivating, just to really see the research behind this type of eating and lifestyle.
So what caused you to go from being a vegetarian to just being a vegan?
Definitely, yeah. Because we were just vegetarian, and I at first, and I did eat some dairy, not very much though, because I didn't really like that much of it, anyways. But I'd say, just reading the research behind and what, like, with specifically the dairy, and linking it to cancer and, all of the just negative effects, really. I just didn't really see any positive reasons to keep it in my diet, and I already just didn't eat very much anyways.
Well, of course you ddidn't see any positives. There really aren't very many.
Yeah, true. Right. And the only reason I think that if I'm, like, remembering correctly, is maybe to get some extra protein, but finding that was, just to have some or whatever, but that was easily replaced. And once I found things that could easily replace the little amount of dairy that I ate anyways, it was really not a hard transition at all.
Great. Hey, when you were in college, what were some of the challenges you had being vegan?
I'd really say that it was a challenge to pack my foods for basically all day and eat, like, on the go, because, I'm, like, riding my bike to classes and kind of on campus all day. I don't have access to a full kitchen to make my meals or something. So I'd say it really took some getting used to figure out what could pack well and fill me up and be, nutritious to sustain me through, all my classes. And I guess I'd say really figuring out what worked well and what I needed to prepare at the beginning of the week and each day, just to be kind of on the go all the time.
Right, because there wasn't going to be any vending machine or anything that you were going to be able to turn to, right? So do you have any tips or ideas on how to maintain a vegan and working lifestyle for anybody?
Yeah, I guess from what I've learned is I really do try and do meal prep on the weekends when I have a little bit extra time. And I think I currently really only cook for one, but I think what the practices I've learned, like making like a large stew in the beginning of the week and then eating it throughout the work week, has been really helpful. And by portioning out things on the weekends to just be ready, when I'm don't have a lot of time after work and I'm going from one thing to the next.
So basically planning it out.
Yeah, and right, exactly, which I like doing in other sorts of things. So I think that's really been helpful, and it makes, I don't have to spend a whole lot of time like each day when I've got stuff semi-ready, or it's really a lot of planning, which, like I said earlier, I enjoy, like finding new recipes and coming up with new things that I want to make anyway. So
right. Now, when you were in college, from people your age that were in college, how did you respond to their questions like, where do you get your protein, or why are you vegan?
I think one of the first things that I say to those types of questions is that you really don't need as much protein as you think. As Jim, I know that you are aware and probably have that same response to people. And I really just give them some of my top reasons for not eating meat. And a lot of people don't, unfortunately, ask further questions as far as it being healthier, like meat. Just like simple things like meat doesn't have, or plant-based diet doesn't have any cholesterol, or the saturated fats and are just not there on a whole foods plant-based diet. And usually people don't really have a whole lot of combating or like compelling reasons as to why you would want to eat meat. It's really just like, oh, how do you not do that? Like, how can you not crave a chicken wing or something like that? And I don't really find that, like, I don't know, very compelling or concerning based on my reasoning for
right. Yeah, well, like I said in the song, they never stay to hear what I say. When they ask me, where do you get your protein? It's like, they're just like throwing that out, like, well, I'm going to stump you here, where do you get your protein? Whoa, gosh, I don't know. So, with maintaining a fairly active lifestyle, which I know you do, incorporating running and other forms of exercise, how has being vegan been a challenge or a benefit?
Yeah, I'd say that I'd say the challenge really is just having enough food to sustain me. I eat pretty often, during the day, which I enjoy because I love food and like eating, but just with being more active, and I think I don't go like long periods of time in between meals and whatnot. So,
well, yes, and I know we're on the radio here, and people can't see you, but you are lean.
Yeah, well, I really enjoy exercise, so I think that's really probably the only challenge, but I see tons of benefits. I think I'd say that I'm healthier than a lot of people that
I would say
counterparts
so too.
that even, I don't get sick like my peers. And I've never, I've always felt and know that I really get the nutrients that I need and in better forms than if I were to have a meat-based diet. So I see a lot of benefits, and that would probably be the only challenges that I spoke to earlier.
Yes. Well, Layne, I would say you talk the talk and you walk the walk, and you're as healthy as can be, and of course you're smart as a whip, which is probably why you became vegan so young, because you heard it, what I said, it resonated, but you
right.
researched it, and you were smart enough to go, hey, this is right. Some people, they hear it and they go, oh, but how can you be right and everybody else be wrong? But, you listen to yourself, and that's key, And so Layne, I so much appreciate you coming on the show, and I so much appreciate you that you've listened to me through the years, and it's really meant a lot to me, because like I said, I wrote that song a little tongue in cheek, but it can get, if nobody listens at all, it kind of can get you down. But I have enough people, and your whole family, jumped on board, and it's been a beautiful thing. It's been a beautiful relationship, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate, your picking this up and running with it.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on the show too, Jim. And I can say the same things. It's been fascinating listening to you over the years, and definitely our family has learned so much from your influence, and it's obviously been very convincing and motivating. Just our whole family has really been changed by your passion for this lifestyle, and I always definitely enjoy hearing what new thing you're learning or what new kick you're on.
Right.
But it's always just
because I don't keep it to myself.
Right. But that's a good thing. So
well, it depends on who I'm around, but yes, I think it is a good thing. Well, Layne, I thank you, and it was wonderful speaking to you, and I will talk to you again.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Well, Jim, it sounds like there are a few people that are listening to you.
Who would have believed it?
Yeah, who would believed it? I mean, there you go. Layne is listening, and she...
And Dr. Evil,
Dr. Evil
Mini
is listening, and Mini Me. So we're getting them one at a time.
Not to mention Austin Powers also.
Austin is also.
I think we got that right
listening,
from Dr. Evil.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
but, it takes some time, and maybe the Veg Fest and Cleveland Vegan Society, and I know that there's a number of people that listen to us on a regular basis. So thank you to them. I mean, we're getting out there. And
everybody who's listening, we appreciate it.
We certainly do. And I mean, gosh, that Veg Fest, I just can't get it off my mind. It was so much fun. Maybe we can convince Jack and Amy and
to
all
do
the
it in
rest.
6 months.
Every 6 months, yeah. Absolutely.
I do hope that they do it again next year.
So much fun. So much fun.
So here we are at the the credit corner here, and I want to give some credit to the songs we did and who wrote them. And the first song we did was I did a take on After the Lovin', and I call it After the Drinkin', and that was from 1974. I'm not sure. I think Mac Davis might have sang that. I'm not sure. But anyways, Alan Bernstein and Richie Adams wrote that. And then we came up to Nobody Listens to Me, back to our theme of nobody listening to us, except now we're seeing that people are. So
They are.
like that.
They are. They're getting it.
That was from a song called Everything Happens to Me, and that's 1941, a guy named Matt Dennis, who wrote a number of hit songs way back then. And so we did mention that, we were grateful to Dr. Evil and Mini-Me and Layne Connelly for coming onto the show, and that was, really super nice. I always want to thank Dolinar Spahia for
Dolinar.
he wrote the theme music that we use, and the song I'm going to close out with is called "Always on My Side," and Dolinar put the orchestration to that together. Even though Michael T. Snow wrote the music to that. And I think you wanted to give a little plug to Dolinar.
Oh, absolutely. What a talent. I mean, meeting him last week at the Veg Fest for the first time, and, him and Chase Oakley and Broken English. I mean, Broken English, what he's doing with that band, and he's amazing. I mean...
He's very, very talented.
It's very talented. Great music, great musician, great arranger, all-around Renaissance man, and... Me and the Lady Queen really loved dancing to all that, too. That was a good time.
Yeah, he puts a lot of energy into it. He has a lot of fun.
He certainly does.
So the song I'm going to do for you here is called Always on My Side. And I also want to do a quick plug for Curtis Leonard, our engineer.
Good old Kurt.
He's the man.
Absolutely.
So
makes us sound so smooth.
He makes it sound professional. So that's our deal. And here's the song, and we'll see you next show.
Absolutely. Let's hear it, Jim.
As sure as the sun will rise in the sky, she's always on my side. She sees into my soul and laughs at my jokes, and she's always on my side. Reads my mind like an open book. She can tell a tale with a single look. Some might say it's impossible, like a rainbow in that pot of gold. Some might call it incredible to finally find someone so compatible. As sure as the moon pulls on the tide, she's always on my side. She says what she means, and she's smart as can be, and she's always on my side. She's crazy as me, and I'll say happily that this love of ours was meant to be. Some might say it's improbable to finally find a love like this at all. Some might call it a miracle to find the one who can soothe your soul. As sure as the sun will rise in the sky, she's always always on my side. She says what she means, and she's smart as can be, and she's always on my side. She's crazy as me, and I'll say happily that this love of ours was meant to be. Yeah. Some might say it's impossible to finally find a love like this at all. Some might call it a miracle to find the one who can soothe your soul. I've known from the start, even when we're apart, that she's always in my heart.
Bakok, bakok.
That's right, Henny. It's time to take off the old feed bag, finish licking your fingers, wipe the plate clean, and saunter on out the door as we draw a close to another show. We hope you had your fill of all the green, crisp, fruity, and nutty fun we've served up. So tell all your friends and family about the great time you've had here today, and bring them all back with you. Don't worry, we've picked up the check and taken care of the tip. We just ask that you keep coming back for more here on the Vegan Troubadour Show, where all the veggies are always fresh, the nut milk is always cold, and the fruit is always juicy. See you next time. Until then, your reservation is made and waiting for you. Bye-bye.